Hello ladies and gentlemen, my name is Sean Mahill and I'm a co-founder of virtualemployee.com. Today I've come to Greater Boston in the United States to meet with Larry Spencer, the Vice President of Application Development of Sceris. Larry had actually, prior to working with Virtual Employee, outsourced to the Ukraine and India. And so in today's case study, what you're going to learn is the difference between outsourcing and hiring virtual employees. A lot of clients don't realize that when it comes to offshoring, there are many different ways in which you can go about it. If you'd like to learn the differences between outsourcing and hiring virtual employees, please watch this video. I've come to meet an esteemed client of ours who's going to go in depth to explain these differences. So let's go inside now and meet with Larry. So to start with, Larry, could you please introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about your company?
Sure. I'm Larry Spencer and I run the software development effort here at Sceris. And our company specializes in document management and business process re-engineering, particularly as it pertains to workflow and moving previously papered documents through a business.
So how many virtual employees have you hired and what do they do?
We have 4 so far, hoping to staff up with a couple of more. And they are rewriting from the ground up our flagship product, which is a document repository. The effort pertains to everything from SQL Server on the back end all the way out to the browser, all the latest Microsoft technologies.
Prior to working with Virtual Employee, you'd actually outsourced before to the Ukraine and India. Could you share with us what your experience of those offshoring endeavors had been?
Yes, they were very different. And I think that the reason really comes down to Virtual Employee's model, that they are true employees. They just happen to be on the other side of the world and through a video screen instead of across a desk. The difference is that we collaborate with them daily, just as we would with employees here. They're free to call our employees here, they often do, to ask questions about our software and so on. So it's just much more of a collaborative environment and not so much sending off specs and hoping you get software back. With the other firms, it was more of a project-based thing. I had to write out what I thought was an exhaustive specification document and send it off to the developers, and after a period of time, which could be a week, 2 weeks or more, get back working software. And I would say, oh, they didn't understand that. It was not the day-to-day collaboration that we have with Virtual Employee. Another difference is that with the Indian firm, this was a blue chip offshoring company. They were CMM level 5, Capability Maturity Model level 5. So they supposedly had all of their processes down and everything was going to run smoothly. All I had to do was just make a phone call and I'd get software in a little while. And I found that it just doesn't work that way. You can have all the processes in the world, but if you don't have the right people, you're not going to get the result. We've had daily interaction with our employees at Virtual Employee, and that's made a huge difference. Nothing is able to get too far off track without us catching it. If they have questions, we are able to respond immediately. There's just a different expectation. It isn't an expectation that they have everything they need from the beginning and then they report back in a week or 2 or a month. It's more collaboration, and that's how modern software development is increasingly done. We're realizing in the software development world that you can't just specify everything in the old, what's called a waterfall model, and expect everything to fall out correctly in the end. It has to be a true team collaboration all the way.
So how do you actually work with your team out in India? What tools do you use to collaborate and communicate with them?
We use exactly the same tools that we use here. We have a Scrum project management methodology, and that involves every day we have a 15-minute meeting where everyone says what they've accomplished since yesterday, what they hope to do today, and whether there are any impediments that need to be resolved before the next day, which the project manager or somebody else should take care of so progress can continue. And that's exactly the same process we use with people here.
Some of your staff here based in the States work from home on some days. So
that's right.
Is it very much just an extension of that with your team in India, video conferencing with them, Skyping with them, emailing with them? Is it just a natural progression from that of people here working in the States from home?
Yes, it's very similar. We do have 2 employees who work from their homes in New Hampshire 3 days out of the week, and when we need them, we just call them up or share code over the screen if we need to see each other. It's actually more convenient than trying to crowd around the same desk. It's more convenient to have that software that we can work with.
So Larry, you mentioned that you speak daily with your team out in India. Has English been a barrier? A lot of clients are concerned about communicating with somebody whose first language is not English.
No, it hasn't been a barrier at all.
So what have been the main advantages of working with Virtual Employee?
I think the main advantage for us has been that we've been able to get good talent rapidly. Many people have the idea that offshoring is some magical process where you pay developers across the world a fraction of the wage that you would pay here and software magically appears. And my experience is that that's not realistic. That isn't what happens.
Okay.
To pay a recruiter here to do what the folks at Virtual Employee do for us would cost $20,000, $30,000 for every developer we hire. Virtual Employee has given us premium level service for really next to nothing. And even though we are in Greater Boston, where there are probably more software developers per square mile than just about anywhere in the country, and even though we have what I think is a very enlightened employment environment and interesting work to do, we've had real problems recruiting good software developers. Over the course of a couple of years of looking for developers here, we found one good developer. Where Virtual Employee has really made a difference is they've been able to provide us with a steady stream of resumes that are just as well screened, just as qualified as people we would get in the United States, without us having to pay huge recruiting fees. I mean, the fee that Virtual Employee charges for even their premium level of service is almost negligible. So we've been able to find good talent, and that's the answer to your question. We were able to find 4 very good people in just a couple of months, in contrast to spending literally a couple of years finding one.
So far, you've hired 4 developers, and it's been a 100% success rate in terms of you're happy with all 4 of them. I think it would be very valuable to share what your secret to success has been.
Sure, and this is the same process that we use when we hire developers stateside. So again, it's nothing different. Virtual Employee is just the same in a different time zone. Naturally, we begin by looking at the resume to make sure that the qualifications match up. Then there's an interview. But I think our magic piece is a programming exercise that we give to the developers. There's nothing that proves how a programmer can do better than programming. So we have a 3-hour exercise. It's a fun exercise. It isn't business programming, it's a game. And they get as far as they can in 3 hours, and then we actually review the code and we see what they can do. I think that's made a big difference.
So Larry, the big question, would you recommend Virtual Employee, and if so, why?
Yes, I would. And the reason why is that their business model, I think, aligns very effectively with what is already known to be effective development practice anywhere you go, whether it's the United States or overseas. And that model, of course, being that their employees are managed by us just as an employee here would be.
Is there anything you would like to share with our viewers, or have any advice or anything else you feel is relevant to add?
Yes, Sean, there is one thing that I feel very passionately about, and that is that developers are not interchangeable parts in some kind of software machinery. They are to be treated as individuals, professionals, and accorded all the respect that we can give them, whether they're here in the United States or overseas. Be sure that you select them as individuals and not just assume that they are interchangeable with every other software developer. So that means that when recruiting them, you don't just treat them as a resume, as a piece of paper. You give them a chance to show what they can do. And when working with them, you collaborate with them. You don't send some things over there and say, I don't want to talk to you until I get my results. If a company thinks that they're going to get a good result by just offshoring things to solve their problem by sending a package of specs somewhere, and they think that the software developers are just machines, their project is going to fail.
Thank you very much. Thanks. So ladies and gentlemen, in conclusion, Larry's case study articulately demonstrates the difference between outsourcing and hiring virtual employees. Outsourcing is best for one-off, clearly defined projects because you have no project management control, you don't have daily interaction with the individuals that are working on your work, and you have to knowledge transfer. But for ongoing daily work, you're much better off hiring a virtual employee because you have daily interaction, you project manage them, and there is no knowledge transfer. It's just like working with a local resource. So please do keep that in mind because it is something a lot of clients don't appreciate when they are thinking of offshoring. So best of luck with your offshoring endeavors, and thank you very much for watching.